for some help, hope, and healing. Every day's a new beginning. Tap into your feelings and giving life new meaning. No matter the time of day, His grace and mercy goes with you along the way. Help, hope, and healing. Every day's a new beginning. Get in step with Nicole.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Get in Step with Nicole. I am your host, Nicole Horston, and today we're going to spread some TLC care all over the airwaves to you. But I tell you what, I have an exciting guest who's not only my sister friend, a woman of God, mother, business owner, but she is just on the move for God, especially as it relates to the development of our children. Welcome to the show, Sister Priscillia James Lee.
Thank you.
Okay, I just have to be honest. Can I just share this secret with them?
Yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of laughs today as well, because we really are excited about what God is doing.
Absolutely.
Seriously. Today, as we were preparing for the show, for you, our guest, God moved in such a miraculous way.
Yes.
And we both were actually taken aback by it.
Yes.
And so we're going to just let you know just a little bit secret about what we were talking about.
Yes.
God is an ever-present God.
Mm-hmm.
He
Always
provides what you need.
When you need it.
When you need it,
When you
even
need it.
when you feel, as Sister Priscilla, I'm going to let you take this lead on this one. When you think that others see the vision,
Yes.
but they don't feel it's moving
Right.
as quickly as it should move.
Absolutely.
But then you, as a leader, as a true woman who believes that God's timing, and you could tell us about the Chronos timing and all the other, but He moves when He's ready to move.
When He's ready.
And in fact, even in your business, you know what? I'll just let you tell your story. So welcome to the show,
Thank
Sister
you.
Priscillia James Lee.
Thank you. Well, as Nicole said, my name is Priscillia James Lee, and I am the COO of J19 Industries, LLC. Back in 2012, I was driving to Michigan. My youngest niece was having surgery. I was on my way to University of Michigan. Ohio State fans, don't get mad at me. And I received a vision from God. Now, the truth is this, it was the first time I received a vision, and it was a vision that did not tie or connect with anything that I had done or was doing in my life. I saw a vision, the building of a child care, and I tell everyone my testimony, I like children, but I liked my children. I didn't like everybody else's children.
And sometimes that's the case, the truth is on this case, right.
And I was just like, okay, what is this? And I got a chance to go into prayer and to fasting, and really I questioned God. And I said, you know, my sister has been in this for 20-some years. You mean this for her and not me? But what I have learned over the years, Nicole, is that we have got to be obedient. And when He speaks, we need to move. And I'm embarrassed to say I didn't do it right away. It took some moving in just me, some praying and some fasting. And when He gave it to me, I wrote the business plan in 2 hours. And then things just started falling into place. But I don't know if you all know, when it looks like things are falling into place, sometimes they're falling out of place too.
Yes.
So that's exactly what happened. I received the vision and I moved in the vision, and we can't live underneath this belief that everything is going to be easy when the vision is given.
You talking my road right there, and I'm telling you what, actually, and I can even think as you were telling that story, when myself, you and your husband went to a business class for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And you were talking about the vision.
Yes.
And you and your husband were working together towards the vision.
Yes.
And he believed in what God had given to you. And ladies and gentlemen, sometimes when we have those visions, yes, the vision is for us first.
Right.
I'll put that out there. But then secondly, God will send people your way, even if it is your husband.
Yes.
A good girlfriend. You talked about your sister being in the field and you're working with, in your business with her now. But God will send those helpmates, those people to help you make.
Yes.
I didn't say help meet, because that's
Right.
the spouse. I said the help make.
Right.
The help make is those who help make your vision, your dream
Absolutely.
that God is giving you to come to
Absolutely.
fruition. But you have a favorite scripture that
I
you
do.
rely on. And here at the show, Sister Priscillia, we always have a scripture that we depend on.
Okay.
So give me yours.
All right. Now I'm paraphrasing you all, so
That's okay.
I'm not quoting it.
And it'll be on the screen anyway,
Awesome.
the right way. So
Okay.
you give it your way.
Okay.
How you committed to memory.
All right. So it is Joshua 1:9, which the company actually is named out of. J19 is Joshua 1:9.
Shut the front door.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
this is a spotlight moment for me because her business name, the corporate overhead of her business is J19. And I was looking at that when she sent it over to me, and I was like, J19?
Yeah,
I said, no, none of her kids' name starts with J. I
Nope.
said, her husband's name don't start with J. Her
Nope.
name don't start with J.
Nope.
Girl,
There you go. Joshua.
I loved it.
Joshua.
So unique.
Joshua. So Joshua 1:9 really says this. It says, don't be afraid. Do what I told you to do, for I, the Lord God, am with you. Don't be scared. That's it. That's really what it's saying. And J19 Industries is based off of that. It's the visions God has given, even in fields that I'm not familiar with, to not be afraid and to do it because he said to do it. And he's with me.
Oh my gosh. If you didn't feel that at home, I'm telling you, the atmosphere is set here because a lot of
Yes.
times we are afraid, if we're perfectly honest.
Yes.
When God gives us his plan
Yes.
for us and it doesn't look like the plan.
Exactly.
Even as we have for ourselves.
Yes.
And even as we're walking through the plans that we've made for
Right.
ourselves, God has his way of shifting it.
Yes, he does.
And I'm telling you, Jeremiah is our 9/11 is ours. Because that's that 911
Yes.
to me, like the emergency scripture,
Yes.
right? That he knows the plans for
Yes,
our lives. And
absolutely.
he knew your
Absolutely.
plan.
Yes.
But Priscilla, can I just tell the audience that once you obeyed what he said and you moved, even though you were honest to the audience that
Yes.
you didn't move immediately,
Yes.
he still blessed the fruit of your obedience.
Yes.
Because you now have not only one business, not only two businesses. Girl, tell me how many businesses. Just tell the world how many businesses you own and list them for them.
Okay.
And they'll be on your screen later on in the show. But I want you to see how God moves when you move.
Yes, so we have 3 schools. The Agape schools, we have 2 located in Hilliard and one that we just opened up in the city of Columbus. They are the Agape Academy, the Agape Butterfly School, and the Agape School of Columbus, where we sow love back into our children. We also have Tots Kitchen. The word is Tots for children. So Tots Kitchen is a kitchen designed to cater other learning centers that may not be blessed with a kitchen or things like that. We also do family meals to bring our communities together. We do also have Faith Walker, and that's mine. And God called me a faith walker back in 2017, and that business is a for-profit, but it is designed as a not-for-profit, and that everything we make, we use to provide grants and scholarships because no one should be without education, especially early childhood education.
I just love that. And I mean, I know you personally because like I said, you attend the
Yes.
church, we attend church
Yes,
together.
absolutely.
And you are active in our church, you're active in the community. And what I love about you most above, I mean, there's several things.
Okay, thank you.
Then she was like, wait a minute now.
What
But no,
is it?
seriously, above all things, your spirit. I mean,
you.
your husband's spirit,
Yeah.
your children's spirit. I mean,
Yeah.
you all just flow like, and I know there's not a perfect everything.
Right.
But I honestly can say that even when there's trials, like, you know, your husband has issues
Yes.
with his back like I do.
Yes.
And it's still, he's still supporting you in the business just like my
Absolutely.
husband's supporting me.
Absolutely.
And it really is something to see how you bring love into your school, because I get to witness the school because
Yes.
it's inside the church. So
Yes.
I see how your staff even,
Right.
how they deal with our children,
Right.
and especially in the formative years.
Yeah.
We have to really be ever so careful issuing out TLC, that care with our kids.
Exactly.
How is it that you have gotten your staff? Now, I've worked before I became retired and went into the entrepreneurial journey, but how do you get your staff to be all on one accord and offering love, and just like they come to work with smiles on their faces, and I be looking at them like, you really love being here.
Yeah, yeah.
So seriously, help the audience out, because we're issuing out TLC, tender loving care, whether
Right.
it be with our children, how we form people who work around our children. Give us just your little secret to help out another company.
Well, I love to tell you guys I have a magic formula. I don't. Here's the truth. Agape, when God gave me the name for the schools, you can't call yourself and not live it, right? Ooh. And agape is, to me, a choice. We all have choices that we make all day long.
Yes.
We can choose to love or we can choose not to love. It is so critical to me right now with everything that's going on in the world. Our children are being told so many things about themselves, and not all of it is empowering and uplifting.
Amen.
And we forget that what you put into a child in the early years becomes their destiny if we're not careful. If we're not telling them that they are loved regardless of mistakes, if we're not telling them they're loved even if they're not the straight A students, if we're not telling them they're loved even if they don't have on the clothes that everybody says they're supposed to have on, if we don't say it, and furthermore, if we don't demonstrate it, we're going to continue to lose generations. And I really believe when God told me to sow love back in the world, that's exactly what he meant. Yeah. Love, choose to love. And there's situations every day, Nicole,
yes,
that we can choose not to love and be righteous with it. There are things that happen that don't make us feel
right.
loved. But what I believe God is saying through agape, that unconditional love, is that you choose to love the way I love you. And if we're honest and we admit it, we did some things that were unlovable in our lives.
Yes.
That a loving God now has had mercy on us and loved us and brought us from there to here.
Yes.
And who are we
yes.
to not do what God has done? Like we don't, that's as a believer, as a child of God, as his daughter, I'm to emulate my Father. And that means that even when it doesn't look like it should get love,
yes.
or I should show love, then guess what I'm going to choose to do? I'm going to choose to show love. And when you do that, it flows down. So when I love that teacher that shows up to work every day and I choose to speak life and not death, then guess what? When she goes into that classroom or he goes in that classroom, they're going to speak life and they're going to demonstrate life. And it just continues to roll. So it's not just saying, it's doing. And sometimes doing is the hardest thing, but it's the right thing to do.
And that just leads us into just, when I think about this whole TLC care, which is our theme for today, I think about, I love an acronym. So I know you didn't hear me say it at the beginning, but I do love acronyms because it breaks down things that I want our viewing audience, our listening audience to take away. So we broke down TLC, tender loving care, and we're going to focus on CAR. And so C brings us into the mind of Matthew 18, where God, he shows compassion, forgiveness, and love, like to the disciples, because they were trying to ask, like, Father, who's first in the kingdom? Like, they want to know, just like us, who's your favorite child kind of thing. You know how the kids will ask us that at home. Our children ask us that. But God just simply showed them in love that, listen, you first have to be childlike.
Right.
You have to walk this faith as sincerely, as earnestly
Yes.
as a child does.
Yes.
And like you said, even in the formative years, like birth to 5, especially age 3, and that's like, really where they're
Right.
getting the meat and potatoes of everything.
Right.
As a school teacher, I know.
Right.
Everything they need to know for this life.
Right.
And then as the learning gap closes at age 5,
Yes.
this child, if you haven't poured life, as you said, into them,
Yes.
it's hard to take it out.
Yes.
And it's hard to even sometimes love it out.
Yes.
Because that seed has already been planted.
Yes.
And so we just want you to be cautious of that, ladies and gentlemen, that your children, yes, you can help them, divert
Right.
what unlearned behavior has become a learned behavior, and you can try to help them with that. But it sticks and stays. And that's
Right.
why I always say I give you an acronym so it can help you in case you need it for your spiritual walk. So C is just being like Christ-like.
Right.
And children, because you know best, they bicker in the classroom.
Yep.
They have their little kid squabbles,
Yes.
especially when it comes to playing with toys.
Yes.
Sometimes with sharing. But that's even a teachable lesson
Right.
unto God, just like, working together.
Absolutely.
Just forgive and move on.
And
Because
move
see,
on.
that child won't remember, after you did set them down and you instructed them. Tell me about just the agape school. Just tell me how a typical day it is with your children and how you see that demonstrating Christ-like love.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the big thing that I tell our teachers, we say stuff like a 3-year-old has been alive for 36 months on the earth. 36 months on earth. If you're in a job for 36 months, you're not even considered an expert, right? And we often hear ourselves as adults saying stuff like, you should know better. You know better. They really don't, right? A child that's been here 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 36 months, 48 months, that's not enough time to become an expert as being a human being. And we tend to forget and assess them through the perception of them being tiny adults. And they're not tiny adults. They are new human beings that we get the privilege to put things into so that they grow into human beings, right?
Yes.
So our typical day is this. It's the same that in, I believe, any child learning center or at home that you're going to experience, the tantrums and the eating. But what I really tell the teachers and what I try to do myself is that we look through the lens of love. And that we really realize and understand that they don't know better.
Yeah.
They don't know that a truck is a truck until you teach them that it's a truck.
It's a truck.
They may think it's a ball because they have not cognitively developed a ball and a truck. So when they throw a truck, to us as adults, we're like, you don't throw a truck.
Right, right.
They don't know that a truck is supposed to be rolled until we say, this rolls and this is a ball, it throws. And what we do all day long is that, those little lessons to help them understand their environment and then how they connect to their environment. And that happens from our gathering time to our bathroom times to our eating time. It's learning throughout the day. And if we would just stop and understand that we teach throughout the day and they're absorbing and learning throughout the day, we are going to create a generation that is going to be so much stronger and so much better than us.
I love that. And so the A, I just want to actually talk about the absorption, how we do absorb everything. Like a sponge, our children, our kids absorbs everything. And so the other part of that A is working on our attitude.
Right.
Even as adults, we're here today to issue you some tender, loving care when it comes to showing forth the attitude of our children.
Right.
Because when they see us, they emulate. Good, bad, or otherwise, what they see.
Absolutely.
And so until we instruct them and teach them, we still have to put forth a positive attitude.
And an attitude is everything, right? You can walk in and it's a rainy day and it can be, woe is me, it's a rainy day. Or you can go, hey, we're going to dance in the rain today. Attitude change, it's the saying, attitude determines your altitude.
Altitude, yes.
That's the truth. And our bishop says it all the time. You can
Yes.
wake up and say, good morning, or good God morning.
Yeah.
So it's really how you see things. And we can choose, again, because God gave us free will, we can choose.
Yes.
It's about making choices that give life.
I love that.
That really is it.
And I was going to use R, the Reggio approach.
Yes.
And she can talk a little bit about that too, but it just came to me, R is responsibility.
Yep.
Just now in this moment, we have to show forth to our parents, yes, we're issuing out TLC, our tender loving care, but we talk about the village, everyone
Absolutely.
being the village. So responsibility, I'll let you
Yes.
talk about the Reggio approach.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about responsibility as far as everyone who touches the life of that child from when it leaves its parents, guardians, people that love them and care for them, to this world. I'll call everything that a child can come in contact with during the day, the world.
Yes.
Whose responsibility is it anyway? You know, the IDEA, when they talk about Disability Act, but I just want to put it in the form of whose responsibility is it to shape, to form these tender minds?
That's a great question. And here's my answer. It's all of our responsibility. It's every last one of our responsibility. You get the privilege, or we have the privilege of having grown up, and we are alive right now.
Yes.
It would be shameful for us not to understand the value that those children, our children's lives have. We're responsible in our interactions with them. We're responsible with our choices with them. We're responsible to demonstrate to them those attributes that we're talking about.
Yes.
We're responsible to hold ourselves accountable and others. Because what I have found out in this field is not only am I teaching children,
Yes.
I'm teaching parents. And, the Bible tells us that the people perish because of lack of knowledge.
Right.
There are things that as a parent and as a mother that I did as I raised my children, because my background and my degrees are not in childcare at the time,
Yes.
I did what my mama said to do.
Yes.
And I was in my class when I did my credential, and I was super excited that my children scooted and walked. I was like, I have geniuses. Yes. They don't even have to crawl. They're going right to the walking.
Right to the walking.
And here's the truth. As I get in class and I go through child development classes, it's critical that your child crawls to teach
Before they
right
walk.
and left, smooth maneuvering from
Yes.
left brain to right brain. If they don't crawl, then their brains aren't developing that way.
On both sides, right.
I thought I had geniuses, right? I mean, so when you learn better, you do better. And it really is up on us as adults to learn better. Part of what we do with Reggio is that it's a philosophy that says we take everything that our children come in contact with, from their homes to their community, and whatever it is can be used to teach them.
Yes.
If it's a school bus, we can use that to teach letters, colors, shapes, sounds. We bring it into the classroom so they connect and they understand that if I put a glass plate in the room and it breaks, they learn cause and effect. So Reggio really just says we bring in everything from the community and we use that to teach our children in the way that each child learns differently. And it is a great philosophy, and I'm one of those ones, honestly, I love every philosophy. I take bits and pieces and I make an agape difference, and that's our soup that we feed to our children.
Right, that gumbo, right.
There you go. So, but it really is the connection, right, that it does take a village that's responsible and accountable to use whatever tools we have available to us, not to excuse ourselves because we don't have this or that. Generations didn't have certain things, but they were still able to teach. The responsibility comes in being accountable to our children during the years where it is going to gain them the biggest bang for their education and their future self-esteem later on in formal education.
I mean, you perfectly stated all that, and hopefully you all at home caught that. You know how they say you're going to catch that
You're
when you
gonna
get
catch it when
home?
you get
Our
home.
bishop also says that too. You're going to get that when you get home, just meaning that you're going to have time to really
think
sit down
on
and
it,
think
yes.
about it. And even with that thought of what you're saying, I thought about a lot of times, even with our adult children, I mean, the hypothalamus in our brains doesn't fully develop until age 25. Yeah, age 25.
Yes.
And you gave a great lesson as we're issuing out tender loving care as it relates to our children. It can be our adult children as well. So I know when my son was growing up and I said, Lord, my husband was like, oh my God, this boy about to drive me crazy. But I kept reminding my husband, and of course, as being an educator, you know, my husband was a construction worker, a railman, so he had those skill sets, like you said. But then being a teacher, going through the formal education with Piaget and, you know, Marzano strategy, all those other strategies that we learn in education, I had to tell my husband, I know it's driving us crazy, but his reasoning, full scope of reasoning, doesn't fully develop. That hypothalamus in that brain of his, our brains don't fully develop until age 25.
Yes.
And then you have it concretely at age 30. Like you really should be okay in this life.
By the age 30.
Prayerfully at age 30.
There you
so
go.
that brings us into evolving the E in care. We want you at home not only to evolve physically, spiritually, that impacts the emotions as well. And we parent sometimes with emotion. Instead of really being led. And that kind of gives us that guide, because like you said, if we listen to our grandmother's mother's mother, we follow, and sometimes those ways weren't correct ways. But then if you don't know what you don't know. And so we're trying to help you today. Just know, offer that Christ-like, that childlike behavior. So that's a dual. You're going to be acting Christ-like, but then understanding that it's childlike, which means we have to become as little children to really understand the fullness of God and how we relate to one another, just being forgiving unconditionally. The A is just making sure our attitude towards our children remained intact. Knowing that, like you said, if you haven't taught them that a truck is a truck, then they're not going to know its job until you show them. And then as a village, it's all of our responsibility to really take care of our children. Yes, even though my son is 30, I still have a really a point to your children, because they're still growing, to show, you know, them love, respect, help them, groom them, help mentor them when it's needed. You know, you have great girls, but by the way, but seriously, it's everybody's job as the village. So let's talk about the E, our last thing, evolving, helping our children evolve. I want you just to show that through your story of where you are now and how God has taken you, because this one is for the parents. Can you give the parents a takeaway of how God has brought you from where you didn't believe it was possible to where it's I'm possible?
I absolutely can. And you know, it's funny, when we celebrate each year that we've been in business, I call it a birthday and not an anniversary. And when I do my tours, I joke and I say, hey, we're a 10-year-old now. Before we were an infant and toddler. And what God asked me to do was to leave a career where I was making 6 figures plus bonus, and to step into a place where I wasn't sure where the next dollar was coming from. And as you know, Nicole, I had 3 little girls and a husband with a medical condition, and I was the primary breadwinner. And when I say I didn't leave right away, it's because in my mind, in my natural, I could not understand how I was going to provide for my family and still do what God wanted me to do, right? I didn't connect that. So I eventually did, and I left and moved on and moved into the business full time. And I would love to tell you all that everything turned out Skittles and sunshine, but I'm gonna tell you it didn't. Because when God gives us a vision, the enemy wants to steal our destiny, right?
Absolutely.
And if he can distract us with the cares and the pleasures and the trials of the world to get our eyes off God, that's exactly what he's going to do. And I tell everyone, from 2013 until 2020 was a journey of faith. If we as his children will believe that is not about us,
Yes.
that it is about him.
And I love that it's about him. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you so much for being on the show today. And remember, no matter the time of day, morning, noon, or night, whatever the time of day, it is always a great time to get in step and soar. We'll see you next week.